everybody? It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios. And I know you were all here for another amazing episode of What Security Happy Hour. That's right. So, got a big show planned. This one can actually go to friends, family, and things like that because we're going to talk a lot more than just cybersecurity. So, if you hang with me for about 10 seconds, I promise I'll be right back. And I'm back. And with me this evening, I have the one and only Will Klusovsky, who actually has his own podcast now. So we will definitely get into talking about that in just a little bit. But to get into it, Will, how you been? How's it going? It's been a while since we talked, and you got a new podcast started.
Yeah, man. Dude, glad to see you. Glad to hang out. Always great to catch up. I've got some Dragon bourbon.
Nice.
For those of you who are fans of Matt Lillard, all of his cool shit. So yeah, all's well. Keyboard Samurai kicked off last week, so I've got a backlog. We got to get you scheduled and of podcasts so we can chat and bullshit like always. And things are going. How's things with you, dude?
Busy, man. It never ends. Never ends. I don't think I've had like an actual day off in.
What is a day off, man?
Where I don't have to at all look at my computer and I can actually just step away.
But seriously, like fucking turn your computer off and take a day off. Like everybody, like nobody should feel like they're at work when they shouldn't be.
So, but no, other than that, so I do want to talk about it is Black Friday or Green Friday, depending on how you want to look at it. It's when all companies for years now, since they started this, go into the black. They all offer sales that aren't really sales. Because a lot of times they'll mark things up just to put prices down and be like, oh, it's on sale.
I definitely bought a TV for $230 that was $299 before. But,
So looking at it, though, especially with the onset of the internet, and more people are doing online shopping, do you find it has become easier to scam and things like that, just the masses in general when it comes to shopping and what they're looking for?
I think there's two things. I think one, people who are looking for deals and they deviate away from like the commonly known websites, that creates a problem. And I do. I'm a proponent of this, even not during the holiday shopping season, because I go to look for whatever I want to buy and try to find the thing on some obscure website, and you're always like, is this site legit? Right? And you check and see and feel like, you know what? Like there's a and the shitty part is it's proliferated beyond the point of where we're even aware of it. So I'll tell you, like, I'm a big fan of like flannel shirts. And so Dixon Flannel is a company that I've bought quite a few shirts from. And you can go on Instagram and Facebook and there'll be some fake video commercial that comes up and they're like, hey, you can get these for $6. And you click on the link and it's some weird, it's not their URL. And like after, guys like you and I can search through and be like, wait, this doesn't look right. But for a lot of people, they'll go in and they'll enter a bunch of, I'll get to buy this flannel for like $10 instead of $50. And then they go to checkout and they're like, oh yeah, sure. Good deal. And all they do is steal your credentials. And like, that specific site I've reported multiple times. Like, this is not legit. And is what's Meta doing about it? Nothing. Cause they don't care. Same Google. Like, that's the thing. Like, we have to be careful with, there's a meme I saw the other day that had the whole, like back in like the early 90s when Google came out, or like, our website is just going to scan the internet and find the information you need. It's never going to be paid stuff now you can just basically, hackers can pay to skip the freaking search engine and become first. So you got to be vigilant. So,
yeah. And that's one of the things, like, I never, I can't say never. Sometimes it happens, but very rarely will I ever go to the sponsored link. I will usually go like 4 levels down and find the actual link to the site or whatever I'm looking for.
Yeah, even like in that case, if I Google like Dixon and they have a sponsored link, that's great. I'm still scrolling past and going to the one below. It's not like the one that's theirs. I just trust it better.
Yeah, and that's a big thing to me because when we look at the security of websites and we look at people shopping online nowadays, I think it has become, man, and I've noticed it a lot lately. Like you'll buy something and it'll seem legit. It'll seem like a legitimate purchase, but it's coming from some third party, like I wouldn't even say drop ship company. Like just somebody stood up a site, made the name look similar to another.
Yeah.
So they're selling some knockoff brand product out of, some other country. And, it takes months to get to you. Like it
I,
ain't like a week or two. It's literally taking months for
I,
them to actually get it to you.
I'll tell you, I didn't realize this because like you said, there's the whole like Etsy controversy. Like now at this point, I don't know, 80% of Etsy isn't actually people like you and I creating stuff and selling
Right.
it. Like those people, there's still a bunch of people figure out, oh, I can just drop shit stuff from China.
Yeah.
And so like the way I've told my family about it is like, look, if you see something on Etsy and you're like, oh, I want to buy that, see if you can find it on Amazon or Alibaba or somewhere else. And if you see the exact same photos somewhere else, then that person is not it's not handmade. They're drop shipping it. Like that's not you're not supporting local business or a single, a struggling artist or anything like that. No, you're just supporting somebody who's got nothing but a site that's just, funneling stuff over. So I think that's super important to understand. And again, like you said, I'm not above, or I'm not like I've made those mistakes too. And it's a mistake, but it's like, oh, I like this thing, it's really cool, I can buy it here, I get it shipped to me. Like they're not stealing your data, but like you're not spending your money where you think you are.
Yeah.
In most of those cases, almost all of them will say it comes from. A lot of them will say they come like, so we're in the United States, right?
Yep.
I'm conscious of that because we have a lot of global people listen, and I'll see a lot of stuff that says, oh, it comes from Canada. I'm like, well, that's cool, it's fine, whatever. And I'll order something, and then you get the tracking number, and it's drop shipped from like Shanghai.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, great, how about it?
I've had so I ordered from Norse Regard, I think is the site, or Norse Guard or whatever it is, because I needed a new monitor. And I was like, I know this is gonna be some drop ship. It ain't someone like handcrafting this. But I was really, really hoping it would be at least somewhere in like Europe.
Right.
Not China.
I just want to support like a local
Gavin says.
Yeah, there's like guys like you and me, and they got wives and kids, and they're all like doing stuff and stuff. Like I want to give I have like these really nice leather bound beer mugs.
Yeah.
That a local place that a state next to me makes, and I get them at the Renaissance Fair, and I love it. And I remember they went out of business, and so one year I went, and I was like, oh, I forgot my mug. So I was like, I'll just buy another one. It's fine. Like, they're not cheap. They're like $75, $80. Like it's a significant amount of money. And I couldn't find them anymore because they were out of business. So I found some other one, and I was like, well, this one looks kind of cool. And then, but I could tell like, it was some manufactured drop ship thing from China that person there working paid, okay, they paid like I'm supporting them because I'm giving them some money, but like they're not creating anything. They're not manufacturing it. So it's like, ugh.
Yeah, it's always rough. But like the way I see things is, I care more about the data. I think being in cybersecurity and looking at where information is going. And when you're dealing with a lot of these drop ship companies, your data is going there. It is going to who's shipping that to you.
Yeah, it's a key point, and I did this on one of my podcasts when we were talking about like privacy and data stuff, and it was like, look, if you go to the website and the option is accept or not, like if that's the only option is like, hey, oh look, here's all the cookies, accept them, and so you can get to shopping, you navigate away from that website. If they're not giving you the chance to look at it and reject all, if you don't have a reject all option, you don't know what they're doing with it, then go away. Somebody, it's not worth it's not worth the cents or dollars you're going to save to sell your data. Because I don't know about you, but like me, like to me, my inbox is, look, I've succumbed to the fact that my mailbox is just for garbage, right?
Yeah.
At this point, I want my email inbox to be useful stuff, so I go out of my way to keep that clean. And every time you go to a website, you're like, oh yeah, just accept all, or just, oh, I can't reject. I'll just click the X, and then yeah, and
I
then
even deny Google when it says, "Hey, do you want us to know where you're at?" Nope. Not unless I'm specifically going there saying, "Find places
right
of this near me." But I make it ask me every single
every single
time.
time. I got a debate on with one of the guys, not a debate, a conversation on LinkedIn with because the like I've got a Ford truck, and the mobile app, I guess like they had updated their privacy policy like they always do, and this person had been like, here's the stuff they're doing, and I'm like, well, just deny that. Like I don't use, like, for me, the only point of that app is that I can start my truck like
Yeah.
remotely. But he was like, oh no, I use the location stuff because I go and hike and do all this stuff, and I found my I've lost my vehicle a couple of times. I was like, oh, that's super cool, but it is kind of screwed up that they're like using that data for whatever they want to, right?
Yeah.
Because and that was the other thing I mentioned in the session I did a little while ago was, as consumers, what can you do? It's like, well, you can pretend, like you need to be aware of who you're sharing your data with, and realize you don't have to do that, right? Like that's the big thing. Like you don't have to. Like I really need to access this site and do this thing that you want me to do? The biggest one that gets me, and this isn't really a holiday shopping thing, but it's the whole, find out what insert fandom thing here
Yeah.
on Facebook, and like, we get access to all your Facebook information, so we can
And
give you some arbitrary.
just give them all your security
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, sure.
That's all it is.
Just to find out what Harry Potter house you're in. And I'm
Dude,
like,
I
you
have
know what?
thought about
Harry
doing
Potter will
those,
do
and then
that
you
for you.
start
You don't
looking at
have
the questions.
you don't have to use that app. You can go and get your own. So
I'm like, nah, I'll just go to Pottermore and actually find my house. I don't need
yes.
to use some Facebook survey that's gonna just tie all my friends in and
So I
family
have to
and
ask, what's your house and
Gryffindor. Always.
are you
Always.
Gryffindor? Do you know your Patronus?
I did. I forget. It's been so long since I've been on there. I think it was
So
a wolf.
I think no surprise to anybody. I'm a Ravenclaw.
Oh, that's
Um,
yeah. That's
and my
that's
my
right.
my Patronus is an Irish Wolfhound. So which is
Actually,
funny.
I think that's what mine ended up being.
Yeah, it's funny because going off into the like after Christmas stuff, the holidays, like we watch the dog show every year now, the kids and I
Yeah.
think last year an Irish Wolfhound won. It was like really great, and this year the first a pug one. It was just funny, but yeah, I'm distracting from the key point of don't give your don't just accept all, guys. Go and check it. They don't need
but
your cookies.
but I think more than that though, it's everything does it now. So like no one. I guess it goes back to the adage: if something is free, you're the currency.
Yes, absolutely. And that's important, I think, for people to understand because look, there's nothing like there's an exchange there, which I get. But again, it's one of those things like if you're gonna go and you're gonna consume from a site, like like just be aware of what you're sharing. The key thing is, those who aren't giving you the options, so here's the thing. As consumers, we assume, I say you and I don't, because we're jaded. We know everything's effed, right? But most consumers, they assume they're like, oh, I'm getting this notification that says they're taking cookies because this business cares about me. No, it's because a regulation says they had to, and they're going to do the bare minimum that's required, which is literally telling you, hey, we're taking your data and this is what we're going to do with it. And you're not going to read this thing, so it doesn't matter. And I think it's important. And I'm not saying you have to read the thing, but here's the thing, like with GDPR, at least, who's like kind of the granddaddy of all the data privacy stuff,
Uh,
they've got to tell you in plain language. It's got to be in English, quote unquote, like you've got to be able to understand it. It can't be in legalese speak. You've got to have a contact person that says, oh, if you decide you don't want to share your information, here's who you reach out to and all. And so that's kind of the stuff I've kind of like guided, because like as business owners for those companies like that want to do the right thing, like make it easy, right?
yeah.
But anybody who's making it hard for you, it's because they want to, they want to make money from your data.
And there are those sites like, and it's funny too. It really depends on the type of mood I'm in, and if I'm in a rush, or if I'm like what type of site I'm on. Because if I'm on like a news site, half time I'll say accept all. Like really, I'm not inputting any data. Whatever you get is probably my phone model. it's not an app, so maybe like
you're probably gonna get my email address. That's like the word you're gonna be able to spam me.
yeah,
And I'm
like,
gonna block it. Like
those, depending on the article, depending on what I'm trying to read, I'll either just say accept or I'll leave the site. Like those are the two options. Or I just leave it there as it's sitting there and I'll read anyways because you can still scroll while it's at the bottom of your screen.
most of the time that's what I do. I just scroll and like I got a big enough screen that like that's fine. I don't need that app.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I'll do that. But again, it's just one of those things that I think we forget just how damaging that can be. And I think it's because, all right, so let's look at it this way. If we go back pre 2000, so let's look at .com bubble was probably late 90s, early 2000s, around that time frame where internet shopping started to take off. Brick and mortar started to not go away, but dwindle a little bit. Like you still have your Best Buys. Like
well, they had to create a web presence, right?
Yeah.
When Jeff Bezos started selling books online, Barnes and Noble had to pay attention. That's kind of what happened, right?
So, like when you do that, I still prefer going to a store. I don't like waiting on shipping. Like if there is a store near me, I am very impatient. If I can go somewhere and get it now, and that has been the hardest part about everywhere I live, especially when I was building computers, is like I don't want to go online, read a ton of reviews.
Yeah, you want to drive to Micro Center.
Yeah, and there was never any by me.
Yeah, and like, well, I was saying, unless you live in a big city, like that's not happening anyway, right?
Yeah, so. And like Best Buy, before they started selling custom computers, really they would get iBuyPower PCs and things like that in, or they merged with Dell or got some type of partnership with Dell and Mac and all these things. But even their parts, like you'd look at the price of a CPU there, it was like $100 higher than it would be on Newegg or somewhere else like that. But Micro Center has always been very competitive to what you can buy online. And a lot of times they match the price too.
Sure.
So like for me, going and actually being able to see everything is a lot better. And I got that experience first time ever was when I was in the Air Force, went through basic training in 04, AIT would have been 04, and there was it was called comp.com was the site. It was the store. It was in Keesler Air Force Base. It was right off base before Hurricane Katrina went through. And man, that place was awesome. That was where I built my very first computer. I literally walked in there, found the parts I needed, found the case, and was like, yo, let's put this together. And then I thought I was like a master computer builder and fried the first computer I tried to build for my gram because...
Did you really?
Oh, dude. So I kid you not, true story. I bought all the parts. It was a cheap computer. She only needed it to go on like the internet or whatever. Like,
like a Celeron and the fucking basics.
Yeah, like it wasn't expensive. I think I spent like $300 or $400 on it, and I couldn't remember how I put my computer together. So the motherboard comes and it comes with the spacers, right, to keep it off of the metal plate.
Yeah.
I'm a dumbass, and I said, "What the fuck? What are these?"
You went to the airport.
They were like copper too, right? So my whole, I'm not an electrical engineer, wasn't thinking things through. I was like, why would I put copper on this? I just put it to the metal. Yeah, bad idea. Because I literally put it on the metal, turned that son of a bitch on, and it was dead. I don't want to do it.
You just shorted it out.
I was like, yo, this board's short. I need a new one. They were like, okay. And sent me a new one.
Yeah, right. Like, well, I mean, you were not wrong. You were not wrong. It was your fault, but you were not wrong. I don't think I've ever done that. And
it was like a $50 board. Like it wasn't expensive. So it wasn't like, it was like
it's still like
robbing
them, it was your fault. Oh, that's good stuff, man. No, I've never shorted a board.
That's the only time I shorted that one, and then I had another one that I didn't short. Something happened with the power or heat or something. It overheated. This one I was in college, man. This computer was lasting me forever. Like I had Vista 64-bit on it with like 16 gigs of RAM before 16 gigs of RAM was cool.
Yeah, no, that used to like it's still like
I had everything. And then I get home one day I was living in my apartment and someone had cranked up the heat, and I had my door closed to my room, So my room got extremely hot and my computer overheated. And so I take it. I was working at Fire Dog at the time at Circuit City, and I take it in there. Well, I didn't take it in right away. I replaced the power supply and the memory, or so I replaced like 2 parts, and it wouldn't turn on. Like, I know I did this shit right. What the hell happened? And so here, I bought a brand new power supply that recognized shorts in the board, and I didn't know that. And so it wouldn't turn on because it didn't want to catch.
Because then there was a short, and it didn't want to fry itself. Oh,
yeah. So I take it into work. I'm like, can I get a known good power supply before I yell at Newegg for giving me some shit that doesn't work? They're like, yeah. So we grab this power supply, hook it up. That some bitch caught fire. Literally, it's an AMD, so it didn't have a north bridge, but north of where the CPU was, yep, there was a flame. It stunk.
That's funny.
So yeah, definitely had a short in the board.
I think we've lost the one listener we had, maybe, that was paying attention to this conversation.
I'm up to 9. We've got
no. I'm just fucking with you because like we've gone on such a tangent. No, when you said the 16, I was like, I had to check because I bought I have an M3 MacBook Pro, brand new. Bought it's like a couple months old. I was like, how much RAM did I even get? 18 gigs. Like even now, like that's like more than enough. Like that's all I in like
yeah.
Like so to be so foresight back then in the day. Yeah, I remember when putting like even 4, 6, 8 gig was just like a ton, right?
Yeah. And I was that guy that grabbed like 16 gigs. I'm like, I'm gonna be the cool kid because I'm running Vista.
Yeah,
I was gonna eat half my RAM because I had Vista Ultimate 64-bit.
Vista Ultimate 64. Yes.
But nah, man, it was just. But like I said, back then, I still prefer to go to a store. One, I think is safer. The worst you have happen. In these days, it's so easy to cancel a card and get your money back, and there's all these protections on credit cards now. That like, I feel safer going to a store and buying things and being able.
Well, and I think you got on something there because like for the general consumer, right? For like my mom and dad and fucking most of our brothers and sisters, whatever, who are not like, because me, well, no, it's funny. So like I have a lot of other hobbies, right? And a lot of those other hobbies can be quite expensive. And there's stores nearby that I can go to. And I'm very happy to go to that store and pay a little extra to like let that, like to friend your family local, whatever store. Like I'm fine with that. I got no problem. But the selection's always limited. Like at a certain point within your hobby, whether it's gaming or something else, like you're like, well, I need this specific thing. And then when you start honing in on that thing, that's when you start looking for all of these random sites. And, like the guidance I used to give was a lot of them would give you, like, they would pop up and be like, oh, we're PCI compliant or we're McAfee certified, or what they would show these logos. Yeah. And here's the trick though. Like it was really easy. Like if you hovered over the logo and there was no link, then they just posted that pic in there and it doesn't matter. Right. Like they were
just put a logo in there.
Right. Yeah. Because you can put the list, but if they had the link, then that knew you should go. Look, I've gotten to the point now and damned for what it is. But like, if they accept PayPal, then I know the risk is low because I can just use the PayPal checkout. My PayPal thing's protected, all of that stuff. And PayPal has its own problems, depending on who you are and what you're doing with it. But like at the end of the day, like it's a pretty solid way to say, oh, this is a good place I can go ahead and shop from. I can go ahead.
There's a few right now. Like if it takes Apple Pay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal. If it takes,
PayPal. The new one is Shop. Shop's another one.
Yeah. If it's got Shop, yeah. I will say this though. What's irritating to me about Shop is they want to get in on you, right? They're like, oh, you want to use Shop to check out, and then all of a sudden they're texting you to log in, and they're giving you. I was like, dude, no, just like I just want you for the transaction. Like I understand why they're doing it because that's their opportunity. It's like, oh, you're a buyer of stuff.
Yeah,
we get to get our fingers in you. And I'm like, no, dude, I just want you to process my transaction and go away.
I use them honestly for shipment tracking. That's how I know anytime something's coming to my house.
That's the only thing. Well, here's the thing, though, to counter that, because I ordered something from somewhere and it got delivered. And it's one of those things where where it was coming from. It's like, FedEx said it was here, and then they said it was delivered, and it's not at my house.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do anything about that. Like, I have no way. So I have to go back to the merchant and say, hey, so in those cases, it's like, well, I need the merchant. I need to be like, hey, dude, it was delivered, but it's not here. So you've got to go and dig into that stuff.
That's actually saved me, though, having that, because
Sure.
we ordered something. This was months ago. It might have been like last year sometime. Shop said it was delivered, USPS. So then I checked USPS because it wasn't on my porch.
Right.
Checked USPS. They said it was delivered. So I was like, all right, time to make a phone call. So I called them. And here, the day before, because it was like a Saturday or something, it got delivered, there was a substitute driver who dropped it off at the wrong house. And so our real driver picked it up and delivered it to us. Like, went
nice.
to that house where it got dropped off at and brought it to us. So it's one of those things where I use it because sometimes it's like delay tracking and I want to be able to see where things are all along the way. And so, because if you don't buy like USPS or UPS tracking or whatever, like if you don't buy the expanded, you can't see all the steps along the way.
Yeah.
But Shop is like, yo, here is everything you need to know, my guy. And I'm like,
they're handling it all for you.
right.
Again, it's another thing from a consumer standpoint to be like happy about, like from it, like gives you that level of comfort.
Yeah, because again, it's one of those like, I know the moment something gets ordered in my house. If my wife orders something, I know because it gets a USPS tracking label and it has my address.
for me, it's like all my credit cards have that notification that when something's been purchased, hey, you just spent such and such.
Yeah.
Because I got one for the kids because they're away at college, right? So it's like I tell them you got to buy stuff for school. It's fine, but like I want to know what you're spending your money on because it's my money. It's not your money.
Yeah. Actually, my son's gonna be a senior next year, so I'm debating whether adding him to one of my credit card accounts. I don't know if that will help his credit or hurt it, or getting.
So I mean, what I did with my kids was I added them to one of my cards I never used so that they could use it for when they're at school. And then once they were over 18 and had a job, I made them go and apply to that same company that was giving the card.
Okay.
So I said, hey, go and apply to this company for this entry level credit card. And then basically what happened, because it doesn't really help their credit if you add them on like as a secondary person,
right.
But when they went to apply, they could see that they were that they had an account with me. So they both now have their own credit cards that they pay for. And I'm like, you pay that shit off every month and, build your credit up. That's it. So,
all right, talking about Black Friday, Christmas, let's get a little bit about credit because this is one of the hardest things. And it's something that hit me recently. So I had to do a lot of work coming out of the Army to rebuild my credit. My credit was shot.
Did any of us get out of the military with good credit?
I'm sure there's some people.
I'm sure there's a small percentage who did, but like
the 1% of the 1% that joined the military, they had good credit.
For sure, yeah.
But so I did a lot of work and got my mortgage, everything else like that. Finally had it over 700. My mortgage was sold to a different mortgage lender, which is fine. All right, cool, whatever. But it considered that mortgage paid off, and so my credit score dropped like 70 points.
Well, it should have gone. For that period until it popped back up that you had a mortgage. That's the thing, because the same thing happens.
No, because now you got to show continuous payments on that new mortgage.
Right. But and I don't know when it happened. Like the same thing happens if you do like balance transfer. Like here's a little trick. Like if you need to make a big purchase where you need a really high credit score, you can take one of your credit card balances and transfer it to another one. And that time from when you transfer it from one to the other, it will show that that's paid off, and then your score will go up, and then eventually it will hit your other credit card, and then your score will balance back out. You shouldn't have taken like a permanent hit from that. But I don't know.
Now I'm in a hit because my credit card balances went up. But that's besides the point.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different thing. But like from the sale of the
Oh
And
yeah,
the bank selling it shouldn't have mattered. Like you still have a mortgage, and that mortgage balance is there, and eventually it's just going to pop up. It's going to balance out, and should be.
But even
fine.
if you didn't have a mortgage, if you pay off your house now,
well, so here's the thing about credit. Credit is not about. Here's the thing. Paying off debt doesn't make your credit good.
No.
Carrying debt makes your credit good.
Yeah.
As soon as I pay my truck off, my credit's going to go down because I no longer have that bill that I have to pay. When my house is paid off, my credit is going to go down. If you have to maintain credit cards that you pay, or you have to maintain credit that you pay to, especially things like loans around your house, your vehicles, any kind of like home, any kind of loan you have.
This is the problem we have right now in this society. And about that wallet just tuned in. He was on the show before, but I have to bring it up when it comes to like security and things like that. Credit cards are probably the worst for cybersecurity. PCI DSS is one of the worst regulations I have ever seen because it is a pure baseline, and companies make friends with the auditors and they get to go away scot-free. Do you have a firewall? Yes. Cool. Check. Like, not what rules are implemented.
I will argue with with you though, because here's the thing: most people who have to comply with PCI DSS, other than the top, like anybody who's SAQ 1, your Best Buys, your Barnes and Noble, your big companies, everybody else, the nice thing about PCI is it's prescriptive. It says you have to have a firewall. Your environment needs to be segmented.
Yeah.
You have to test against that segmentation. So the idea of like being able to make it go away, because honestly, the merchants, I've worked with PCI a lot and like all scales of the business. I was at a company that actually had a product that helped SMBs. Because here's the thing, like once you get below like small enterprise, nobody cares. They just want it to go away. And that's rightfully there on their part. So it's on the processors. So what happens a lot of times is the processors go, well, we've partnered with so-and-so. And so to your point, yes, you're PCI compliant because your processor knows what IP address we use, and we're just going to blanket that. We're just going to wipe that away, and it's all good. Is it really good? Probably not. They're probably missing some stuff. There's probably a little more that needs to be done.
But here's the thing, right? When we're looking at that, and this is why I think credit is so bad, and I despise credit. Honestly, let's be fair. Our country is like trillions of dollars in debt, and you're going to assign me a credit score. You can't maintain your own checkbook, let alone mine. Right? So, like, I look at these things, and
it is a U.S. thing.
Credit score. It is. And
like I remember somebody telling me in France, it's basically like whatever your annual salary is times what. Like there's like a basic math equation that based on how much money you make a month, and they're like, if you can make this payment, we can, and that's fine. Like that's it. They just do the math. There's no credit score. There's like,
and that's legitimately how it should be. What's your income, and how much debt do you have out there?
Yeah.
Okay, can you afford X amount of dollars? That's like when I was in the Army and my student loans were up for repayment, and I didn't realize it. Like I was like, fuck it, I let them shits go.
Yeah, we can't afford to pay for that stuff.
And so I had one company get a hold of me, and they're like, oh, if you pay X amount of dollars a month, then we won't take your taxes, and you'll be good to go. Bet. I can afford that. I didn't realize they split my student loans into two different third-party collectors. So this other one called me and was like, hey, I'm like, dude, I'm paying this company already like $400 a month. I got at the time I had 4 kids. I was like, there's no way in hell I can afford this on my salary. And they were like, but dude, you are not getting that much money from me. And so lo and behold, they took my taxes the next year. And then I had my wife fill out an injured spouse form and get all our taxes back.
Student loans are one of the biggest. Well, I don't want to get off on a whole tangent about the entire education system being like one of the things that is like the two things that have gone up are housing costs and education, and neither of those things produce any fucking revenue. So for anybody that doesn't own one of those things, so Like,
yeah, and
gonna...
you know, I think the bigger problem when we look at things like Black Friday, when we look at shopping, when we look at the security of it all, is people know, especially in America, we have become very, 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 very materialistic.
For sure.
And so I can literally sit there and sell you a pile of shit, put some sparkles on it, and call it gold, and you'll buy it. Because I said I am from this vendor. Not that I really am. I just said I was, and you're too lazy to do your research.
No, but that's a great point because, like we both live in PA, so we get to pick our own power company, right?
Yeah.
Every you're like, you don't like your power prices, you go and search for it. How many phone calls a month do you get from somebody who says they're representing or on behalf of your power company? And I'm like, no, you're not. I signed a 2-year deal with these people to lock in my rate like forever ago. I know you're full of shit. And they're in Sam's and Costco standing around with like, hey, we're here to sell you. No, they're all just scamming you, trying to lie about what they're. And that's the shitty part is like, look, don't lie. Just tell me, look, we're a different power company. We think we can give you a better rate. Like, just come and be honest. Don't pretend to be something you're not. That just, I trust, man. Trust is the number one thing for me.
And again, to your point, though, I think you and I have become very jaded in that I don't trust anything I see online anymore.
Yeah, no. No.
Not any site I go to. Because, again, you look at the Googles, the Amazons, even Amazon, when they started letting third-party resellers on there now. So now you're like, oh, I need an Under Armour shirt. And it'll like, here's all these shirts. But if you don't look at who the actual seller is, you could be buying an Under Armour shirt from somewhere in like Timbuktu and not even realize
it. Here's the shit about Amazon that I think is like, I will know exactly what I want to buy. Like, I almost have the SKU for it. So I can type in, I'm looking for this product from this vendor in this color. And when I search on Amazon, and it won't show up. But as soon as I go to Google and type that in, I will get the first or second link will be where that's at on Amazon. When you search on Amazon, Amazon shows you what they want you to buy. When you search on Google with those specifics, that specificity, they'll be like, oh yeah, Amazon has this. You can buy it from them, which is super fucked up. Like, just, I mean, I understand how they can do it, but it's like they're getting to a position. So we're kind of just circling around this whole holiday thing. It's like, we have, like you said, we used to be able to go, and my wife even said it too, because we ordered a bunch of stuff for the kids from different websites and stuff's not coming. And she's like, next year I'm just going to the store to buy it all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no, I get that. But like now there's like nothing in the stores anymore. You know, luckily our kids are old enough, but I'm fortunate enough that when my children were young, like Toys R Us still existed. So I could just go to Toys R Us, spend a few $100s one day and be done with Christmas. You can't do that anymore.
So do you remember Hills?
What's that?
Hills. Do you remember
Hills?
Hills? So Hills was at least in Pittsburgh. I don't know where else.
Okay.
It was basically the equivalent of Walmart before Walmart became what it is.
Okay.
So they had their slushies in like their little area, and then it was toys, everything basically but food. And so every year we got a Toys R Us magazine and a Hills magazine. And my mom literally, to make our Christmas list, most especially once we found out there wasn't a Santa Claus, she'd be like, hey, look at this, tell me what you want. All right, cool. We would literally go through Toys R Us and Hills magazine and the big books. Well, Toys R Us was a little smaller. Hills was a little clothes and everything else. And we would circle what we wanted. And then be like, here you go. That's my Christmas list.
There you go, Mom. Yeah, that's it.
And she'd be like, okay. And like, so, but now it's like, oh, let me send you this link and build out an Amazon wish list and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, my oldest, or my middle child is like, he sent my mom a set of headphones that he wanted for PlayStation or Xbox, or I don't know, one of them. And so She shows them to me. She goes, "Do you know what these are?" I said, "Hell no. I ain't never seen those in my life." She's like, "Austin says you want it, but I don't want to buy like some off brand that's gonna break it."
Right.
And I was like,
Yeah,
"All
because
right,
they don't do the research. They're like, oh, this looks cool. I want
yeah."
it.
So I looked and I was looking around and I sent her 2 different ones. I was like, "This one's wired. This one's wireless." She's like, "Is he gonna break?" And I forget how much the more expensive set was. It was on sale, but it was still more expensive.
Still, yeah.
I was like, maybe. I don't know. I was like, because it really depends on how he wants to treat his things that day. Is he going to leave it on the floor or is he actually going to put it up on his desk? I don't know. That's why I sent you the cheaper ones also. That'd be why. But it's one of those things where like they look and they're like, oh yeah, I want this because it looks cool. I'm like, do you even know what it does? No.
They don't understand. They're like, oh, it's on fucking Alibaba or whatever. Like, or it's like, well, that's
Dude,
great.
I know. I got a buddy that ordered a bunch of stuff from Alibaba. I won't even order from there.
You got Temu and Wish and like all these other
Dude,
sites.
I don't touch Temu. I don't touch Wish. I don't touch Alibaba. Like, I legitimately go out to Amazon and look for legitimate resellers.
Like we are on the tail end of like where this is all going to go down. Like, and I mean down in a bad way, because I talk about this all the time with like everybody I talk to who's like our age. It's like, look, we grew up in an age of like you had to know how to use a computer.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't just turn like any I don't want to say moron, but like basically any child can turn on an iPad and use it today and figure it out because it's intuitive. And that's great. That's awesome. I think that is fantastic. But people like you and I who grew up having to understand how that shit worked, so that when it doesn't work, you go, oh, wait, well, this is not talking to this thing and it's not doing that thing. The kids today don't have that. So now when something doesn't work, they're just like, oh, well, that doesn't work. And then they just like go off and move on. And so it's the same thing when they're like, oh, well, I see this thing online and it says it's this, so it must be that. And I'm like, well, no, you've got to do research. Like, is it good? Where's it coming from? Like, what's comparable to it? Does it look exactly like something else that's got a different brand name? That, you know, like there's a whole lot of like scrutiny. And again, and I'm I come from the jaded generation, so like we don't trust anything, right?
Dude, I was born in '87. I don't even come from that. Well, I do and I don't. I was raised like I came from that generation.
Yeah, you're on that what I'd call that millennial side of the, like, I'm in the Zennial range, which is funny. So like I'm at the end of Gen X, but the beginning of the millennials, which is like, and it's funny because I don't realize how much of the millennial side I have in me until like the really old Gen Xers start posting stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't. That's boomer stuff to me.
Yeah, yeah.
like
okay,
when you're,
boomer.
yeah, exactly. When you're posting stuff, like the big one is QR codes. They're like, I'm not going to scan a QR code. I'm like, no, dude, I don't. Like my generation, we are the technology generation. We will adapt and use anything. We are all about using.
It's so funny that you say that though, because like, depending on where I'm at and what it is, I won't scan it.
Well, I mean, like, if I'm at a restaurant and you're going to give me the QR code, I'm going to look the menu up. Like, I'm not going to make your life hard. Yeah.
Like,
but
if I'm at the airport and it's like, hey, you need to scan this QR code to get the menu to be able to order. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. But like, if I'm at the airport and somebody just has a QR code ad/sticker on the wall, hell no, homie.
Well, it's funny. Because I'm gonna say the same, because I run into this all the time. Like you and I, we go to conferences, we go to events where we got a bunch of security people, and I'll be talking to somebody and they're like, hey, what's your contact? And I'll like, here's my QR code. It's gonna give you my LinkedIn, my phone number, my email address, everything. Boom. And like, well, I'm not scanning that. I'm like, dude, I just sat here talking to you for 20 minutes. If you don't want to scan my QR code because you think it's a hack or I'm gonna deploy malware on you, then fuck off. Like that's not, that you're an idiot. Like that's not like, and if I was out here trying to scam people, I wouldn't be dressed up in clothes I'm uncomfortable in and standing in front of a booth with my company's name on it or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Walking around the floor at Gartner trying to hack people up. No, man.
No, man. I was where you're coming from. Look, if I really wanted to deploy something, I would just take an RFID scanner or something and just like leave it under the table so that when people put their phones nearby, I just get your information anyways.
I'm gonna chalk that up to good initiative, bad judgment. Like I
Yeah.
get it. Like, yeah, like it's fine. You shouldn't scan a bunch of random QR codes. But if you've talked to me for 20 minutes and somebody you want to talk to again, and I give you a QR code, scan the damn thing.
And that's the equivalent of like the dot cards and stuff now.
So yeah, for sure.
But all right, so here's the next thing. What do you recommend to people when it comes to going to stores? Tap, chip, or slide?
So here's what I'll actually tell you. So I tap almost all the time because I have my phone. Here's the thing that I think makes a lot of sense that I didn't learn about until recently. It's get a really good credit card or charge card. Like so in my case, I've got like I've got one of the Amex cards that's really good because one, creditors have better security requirements and constraints than like your local credit union does.
Right.
Also, if you go and scan your debit card and that number gets hacked for some reason, that money comes out of your bank account like immediately. And I've been fortunate enough that's never been a big deal, but for some people that could take a lot longer than you want. So just don't use your debit card, like use your get a credit card or a good card. And again, treat it like it's your debit card. So, use that Amex, that Chase card, whatever it is, all the time. Pay it off every month. The nice thing is too, like if you're on a paycheck to paycheck or kind of standpoint, like you can constantly see what your payments, what you're spending throughout the month without having to try and balance out your checkbook. So I think that's the way to go because you get better protection with that card. And then also if something happens, like you can dispute those charges much easier. You get all of that stuff on the crediting side is much easier. And then just take your actual debit card out of the scenario. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, I still use my debit card, but I also use Apple Pay a lot of the places. So I'll use my phone just like you. The only problem I have with charge cards and the whole pay it off every month is that like the way I would like to do it is if I charge something, bang, cool. I know I get paid tomorrow. I want to be able to pay it off tomorrow. Yeah. I don't want to have to wait 2 weeks to be able to pay this off. And sometimes that will take from the time the processor or the store you get it to that sends it to the processor for the charge card to finally be like, oh, it's no longer a hold. You can pay this off now. But like sometimes it'll sit there and be like, hey, you have this much available. You spent this much, but you can only pay off this much. And I'm like,
my advice,
I want to pay it all off.
My advice there is to set, like what I have done is just set mine to auto pay the with Amex they have what's called the adjusted balance. So it's basically essentially all I'm doing is every month when my due date comes up, I'm paying off everything so I'm not paying interest.
Yeah.
It's going to pay off everything. So it's still the same thing as if I were using it out of my checking account constantly, but also I'm getting points. I'm getting benefits from all that. I'm getting better protection from all of that. But no, I get what you're saying. Cause like the whole idea of like, oh, I want to pay this off now that I use it. No, like I had to get over that same thing and be like, you know what? I'm just going to pay it off. I'm going to have it set to pay off that full balance every month. And then now like because I've had my debit card and like here's the thing as consumers, your shit gets stolen. The bank calls you. You're like, hey, cool. We send you a new card. They refund. Like, it's not really that big of a deal for us. But, depending on, how much money's in your bank, it might be a big deal.
Dude,
depending on how long it takes for you to find out and somebody buys something really big, like it could be a big deal. So having that buffer with a credit card or a charge card where there's no limit, it's beneficial.
Yeah, I had someone take me down to, I forget how much. And it was because Capital One, I love Capital One. I don't care what anybody says. Capital One is fucking amazing. Because immediately they set up notifications. Every time somebody charges something, you get notified. You don't have to look into it. You don't have to enable it. No. This shit's automatic. I'm going to text you. I'm going to send you a notification on your phone. And I'm going to email you as soon as the purchase is made. Right? And so, like, I had a charge get declined, and I was like, no big deal. Guess what? You can't use that card. I don't know if it was expired or I just didn't have enough money on the card. One of the two. No big deal. But then the next morning or later on that day, my wife looks at my bank account, and here they had got into her Google, her Gmail, which I ended up getting back, but it was a whole process. But they also got from that, they got her Amazon, her everything, all of our payment methods, like all that stuff. That's how they got my Google account. So, or my credit card. So they attempted to buy like a MacBook or something stupid. I forget what it was. And it actually cleared my bank account. Now, I got the money back, but not without arguing with my bank about how some umpteen $1,000 got spent in another state that I'm not even living in. And they were like, oh, well, you need to set up protections for extra. Bitch, it was $2,000.
That's why you use, like in my case, I use the Amex for everything because they can do that. It won't ever hit my bank. Like the money never leaves my bank account until I go and pay it.
Yeah.
Once a month. So if you've got that credit card, then you're arguing with that credit card company, and that's fine because that money's never leaving your bank account yet because it's just a balance goal. And if the credit card company wants to be, which most of them are going to be pretty good about it, but even if they don't, you're like, well, I'm going to dispute that charge, and that's going to pull it off while they figure that out. And so again, that's a way to protect your money, like your actual cash. Just use the credit cards on the front end. That's what I have my kids doing now. Like both of them, they have their own credit cards. I'm like, just use this card for everything, not your bank card, and just pay your credit card off all the time.
And it really comes down to, and actually, I think the good thing about that is you can set a limit on your credit cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And say, so your limit may be like $10,000, right? Some company gives you a $10,000 credit card, but your budget every month is like $2,500.
Yeah.
So you can cut yourself off and set in there a $2,500 budget. So that way, when you pay it off every month, as long as you're not using your debit card, you're paying your budget.
Yep.
So it's just budgeted out, and that's all you're paying. So it's a good way to do it, I think, and that makes a lot of sense. The problem is I got to get all my credit cards paid off before I actually do that.
I think look, man, I know there's people who are living a better life than me financially like that. But no, that's exactly what it is.
Like I'm looking at mine like that's a really smart idea. Now I just need to get one.
And when I say I learned about that was like in the last like 5 years. Like I was talking to some other people that you and I both work with, and I was like, dude, that's really smart. I'm gonna have to do that. And like so it's been a real recent thing for me to like, okay, this is way better. Also, not to mention, like, look at the different cards. Like you're spending that money. Like, look, honestly, any bank or credit union, any kind of points they give you, it's all shit. Like it never amounts to anything.
Which, by the way, about that wallet wants to know, what have you used your points on? Because he's a fan of points, not cashback.
So no, for cashback's the worst. It's like the low. So my Amex is all based on travel. I haven't been in consulting, right? So the nice thing is, I get a ton of benefits with mine. So I get like free Uber dollars, free DoorDash dollars, free, like I get like access to different lounges and hotels. So like just having the card.
Is yours the American Airlines Advantage or a different one?
So I've got an Amex Platinum, and you can basically pick Marriott or Hilton, American, Delta, or you basically pick your hotel chain and you pick your airline. And so all of your points are spent just as much as they would be if you had, like I have a Marriott Visa also. So all my points are basically 1-to-1 with all of those. So what do I spend them on? Like it's usually vacations. It's usually hotel rooms, things like that. So in the past, I've taken, so I live in Pennsylvania. We're on the East Coast. The family and I have gone down to Ocean City, Maryland for a week, and my hotel's been $0. Right.
And the more we talk about it, that's actually something I've been wanting to do and I haven't done, is really just use my points cards as my bank card. Pay it off every month. Because I have these, but because like where I work, I don't travel as much as I thought I was going to.
It's all
I got these cards and I only use them for like big purchases if I'm gonna be like if I'm like I ain't got the cash in my account right now and I really need this.
Right.
i.e. I need to replace an AC unit. Or so I think in that same vein, when we look at security, when we look at shopping, I like that idea. Get a credit card that has whatever your at bare minimum your budget. So if you're budgeting for food and you say my food budget is $500 a month, get that. Then have a Christmas / major purchase card where if shit breaks or it's the holiday season and you want to be able to spend more than you really should, then have one for that.
Right.
And that way your points card should be your monthly spending, like the bare minimum. That way you're building that up, and then you're never. I guess I would say you're never house poor, right? You're
Well, and
never
that's the
at a
thing.
point
Like,
where you can't afford to go anywhere.
the nice thing about like using the credit card instead of your bank card is, look, I know every time I go to the store and I spend $200 on groceries, that's coming out of the bank account, but
Right.
it's not coming out for 20 days, 30 days, 10 days, whatever. Like, I know when my payments due, right? So I know as I'm shopping, okay, everything I'm spending right now is going to be due on the whatever date of December, right?
Right.
So as somebody who's, if you're dealing with if you're looking at that paycheck situation, like, you're always anticipating what that paycheck is going to look like. And then to your point too, the other part is it helps you save because ideally we all learned this in dumb private 101 class when we went to whatever it was. It's like, save money in the bank account for your large purchases when you want to buy a DVD player for $200, right? Now
Yeah.
that large purchase is $1,200, $1,500. Like, the price has gone up, but it's that same thing. Like you said, being able to make sure you have the money in the bank for the large purchase or the big boo-boo that kind of happens. But then also just being able, I don't know. For me, somebody like similar to you is like, I want to know the money's gone right away. But like for me, it's way easier to know that like I've just got one balance. Like, I've got one credit card that's like, here's the money I've spent and here's my bank account, and it's constantly changing and evolving, and I can just manage that. It's just easier for me. And you get points.
Yeah.
So
all right. Black Friday, shopping season, holiday season. We got 3 minutes left in the show. Give your best advice for securing people who are shopping online this holiday season.
Don't get sucked into if it's too good to be true, it is. That's it. I think telling somebody that, like, I think we've all seen the meme, at least for me. There was like a meme with like a pit boss or just any kind of like pellet smoker grill where it was like $8.99 and it's got freaking William Wallace saying hold, and it says $8.99 hold, and then it's got $11.99 marked out and selling it for $8.99. And he's like, go. It's like, look, you're buying it at the same price. So do your research. And honestly, I think the other part of it is, no, that's it. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Know what you're buying and where you're buying it from. From a security standpoint, again, the cookies, who you're sharing your data with, that's all very important. For me, I'm actually a big fan of like support your local businesses. So if you can find a way to go out to the local shop and go buy that thing from the local game store or the local gardening store or the local hardware store or whatever, go do that. Like, spend like, it's okay to give them a little bit more money for what they're doing instead of getting a drop ship from Shanghai.
Yeah, I completely agree. It really does come down to what you're looking for, and sure, those drop ships look cool, but again, realize where you're buying from.
Well, and I think people like, I get disappointed. Like, I feel terrible, like not terrible, but like if I see something online, I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and I'll do my due diligence and be like, I didn't really find it anywhere else. Like, it looks like these people are hand making it themselves. And then I get it, and then I see that it is like, drop ship from China somewhere, and I'm like, and I was like, man, did that really not, should I have spent more effort going and finding a local artist to make something for me or whatever? And I don't know. It's
Yeah. I mean, for me, it really depends on what I'm buying. Like, if I'm buying something and I'm expecting, and that's one of the things, right? So for me, like I said before, as we started the show, I was looking for a Mjolnir.
Yeah.
And I've had
You need
several
another one.
custom ones made that were fantastic. Unfortunately, the last 2 Obsidian ones I had made, because they're Obsidian, the second one I bought lasted a lot longer, but it broke. And I'm like, all right.
What are you doing with them?
They're fragile. So
I know, but are you out there fighting? Are you like
no, because
what?
they're so small in the way they're made. Because I don't like something big and bulky. I'm not trying to be like freaking Flavor Flav with a thing. So like even these right here. So I've got this, which is to me huge. I don't want this huge thing around my neck. For some people, yeah, it'd be great, but for me, it's heavy, and I don't want that.
Yeah, I got you.
So plus I prefer chains over like those little thin cables because those also break. And it just so happened that the string that it was on, that same type of thing, it came unhooked and it fell and hit my kitchen floor. And I picked it up and I was like, something don't. And even though it's wrapped in copper, I could feel that it's broken. Which at that point, it's already broke. Like I don't want to do any more damage. So I bought a stainless steel one that's probably from somebody in China that has no clue what they're making, but it was just what I did.
I've got some Damascus in my garage. Hit me up,
dude. My buddy uses Damascus. He's another one. So there's a few people that I'm probably going to get forged from. Norse Forged.
Oh, those guys are awesome. Those guys are kick ass.
Did you see his Damascus blade that he made?
Just everything those guys do is great. They had a whole group together down in North Carolina.
All right, so Will,
last year,
next year, we need to go down to his gathering.
Yeah, the North Carolina. Yeah, they have they had a gathering like in April or whatever.
We need to go next
there
year.
And everybody. No, those are my people. Yeah.
All right, so we're going next year.
Yeah.
We'll plan it out. We'll figure it out. I want to go. I've been wanting
to drive to here. I'll drive to there. We're good. Like it's done.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Well, I'll plan out hotel points.
You don't even need them when you get down there, man. We're gonna be camping, dude.
No, exactly.
Big old tent.
It's right outside of Asheville. There's a lot of great breweries in Asheville. So just
all right, we'll be all right.
We're gonna be good. It'll be a good time.
But no, I do. I think that like pay attention to where you're buying from. If you do know people that are blacksmiths, that are creative, that are making things, get a hold of them instead and buy directly from them. Yes, they're probably on. I'm on Squarespace. I think it is.
Yeah, well, that's transaction stuff.
I forget what it is.
Yeah,
but like, so they do all my processing and everything like that. But like,
Big Cartel's another one. They do really great. Like a lot of the guys I know that make stuff. Like I am, I guess, technically still a maker. Like there was a stint I did making stuff, but a lot of people I know that make things, and I know that's like a general category, but like Big Cartel's another one. You'll see them.
Yeah,
honestly, like
the way that they do a lot of wrestling attire for my friends.
We would almost everything that I would do, we'd find through Facebook. So we had different Facebook groups for different things you were interested in, and so. Like if you wanted custom made knives, I could tell you a bunch of people. If you want a custom made leather stuff, here's a bunch of people who do metal work.
Dude,
like you
I could give you probably the great blacksmiths because the Norse pagans that I follow. So you got Berserker Bear, Norse Forged. There's a few others that have to get their name. The one that made my Mjolnir and a few more. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but like. I could get you blacksmiths. My wife will make things. She's just not a blacksmith. Hers is more in the, I'll make you shirts and hoodies and stuff like that.
I got a cricket over here somewhere.
Like she'll make some, but then I got to go through a dropship company to make the rest because she refuses to be the one responsible for making all of them.
I'm gonna plug somebody just because we're here. I don't know if you've seen this. So this is. Have you seen Nightweave?
Dude, did you get a cloak?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, I have a cloak.
Dude, I've been wanting one of his cloaks for so long.
Hold on, dude. This thing is fucking great. This is the best fucking thing ever.
And then I saw it wasn't completely waterproof, and I was kind of like,
oh no, dude. I took this to Ren Fair all day long in the rain. It came home. It's fine. Like okay. It's fucking golden. It sits here on because I'm in my basement. You know how cold it get. Like the upstairs heat will be off, but here I'm like, no, like I can warm myself up.
I need to get one strictly for work.
That's all it is. Like I want to take a nap. I'm just like, No.
All right, man. Well, it's been great talking to you. This has been a great episode. Now that I know somebody else I know has one of those, I'm probably gonna buy one.
Go buy one. I bought
you, brother.
My kids have one.
Yeah. Hey, send me your phone number on LinkedIn. We'll connect and get ready for everything else.
Whatever's next. All right, man. I'll see you, dude.
All right, man. Later. Take care.